A Plaguelands Media production.
Hey everyone, this is Hugh from Plaguelands Media bringing you the first book review, graphic novel review of the year. So, you know what? Let's not do cheers. Let's do it properly. Cheers. Okay, now this graphic novel is one that I have wanted to read for a long time. The character was first introduced in 2000. I read about this character in Wizard magazine, which was a kind of a comic book showcase, so to speak. I was addicted to Wizard magazine. I was addicted to Dragon magazine. I was addicted to Dungeon magazine. Basically, the trifecta of nerdlinger havens. The character, of course, is the Sentry. And the Sentry was presented as a lost comic, a character that was created by Stan Lee back in the day, but never saw publication and was forgotten. The reason they did this was a marketing campaign, which I will admit was really fucking clever and really fucking successful. Oh, hold on a minute. I'm drinking from the bottle tonight, aren't I? Now, this marketing campaign was supposed to replicate the fact that the Sentry had been forgotten. Forgotten by its creator, forgotten by publishers, when in actual fact, the character had been forgotten by the Marvel Universe. The character itself has the power of 1 million exploding suns and was kind of like the Marvel equivalent of Superman, but with a bit of a twist, which you will find out in the review of the graphic novel. Although, if you've watched the film Thunderbolts, you kind of already know what it is. Now, the art in this book is fantastic. It is perfection for the character itself. And if you look on the back, you get a picture of the character as like a middle-aged man. He's got a bit of a beer gut going on there and whatnot. I was always interested in the Sentry, but not interested enough to kind of track down the comics and go and read them. This came out in the 2000s, like literally in the year 2000. There were better comic books out there and characters that I was more interested in at the time. The Sentry is tied to all of the huge players in the Marvel Universe. We're talking Reed Richards, we're talking Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Tony Stark, Iron Man, Bruce Banner, the Hulk, heck, even the X-Men tied in. The original X-Men, mind you, because the Sentry is kind of billed as the first superhero. This story blew my mind to the point where I am not interested this year in tracking down newer stories, newer comic books, newer graphic novels. I want to go back and read the stuff that I didn't read as a kid. I knew about a lot of these story arcs because of, as I said, Wizard magazine. I'm going back and tracking down early Marvel, early DC, and getting back in touch with the stories that not only made the characters I love, but made me want to love the characters that I read. So this year you're going to get quite a lot of early Marvel, early DC, early Image, just the stories that, dare I say it, turned me into a fucking super nerd. So, if you don't want the Sentry graphic novel spoiled, by all means, click away, go and watch something else. I can recommend watching Plagueland's media videos. Go and watch Variant Comics. Go and watch Comics Explained. Go and watch Dale the Casual Gamer. He's come back and his videos are fucking awesome. Go and watch Cat Weasel. He's come back and he's playing board games again. Just let your freak flag fly, people. But if you want to know what the Sentry is all about, then of course stick around for the next episode of
Read a fucking book. Read a fucking book. Read a fucking book. People.
Okay, so this is the Sentry graphic novel by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee. I'm not going to go into the minutiae. This character is actually pretty famous. Back in the day, I read about the Sentry in Wizard magazine, where they kind of hyped it up. But this is the first time reading the entire story. The initial story, the character's been used before, so fantastic cover there. The art in this is awesome. So we start with issue 1, where there's a storm, and this character of Bob Reynolds wakes up and goes downstairs, tells his dog to be quiet so he won't wake up his wife. And he's starting to have these kind of flashbacks of this superhero, the Sentry, which I love the old school art when they kind of do this thing. And the Sentry is effectively this character that uses this serum to give himself the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. And he starts to remember all of these stories of his life as the Sentry. And basically this is kind of repressed memories, which is cool. He gets some of the serum, injects it in himself, and becomes the Sentry once again, but then he's confronted by his arch nemesis, this character called the Void. His wife finds him. She accuses him of using again, either drinking or drugs, and he ends up leaving, flying off into the sky. Then we get to issue 2, where we see Sentry confronting Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. And Reed Richards has no idea who he is, and Sentry is like, you've got to remember, but Reed Richards doesn't. And when he goes back home and talks to the rest of the members of the Fantastic Four, Sue Storm, Ben Grimm, and Johnny Storm, we kind of discover that while Reed doesn't remember Bob or the Sentry, they were best friends, and Reed was the best man at Bob's wedding. Sentry is still trying to make heads or tails of all of this, and Reed discovers a tape, or Bob gives Reed a tape, I should say, and the tape is of Reed himself warning that if Sentry should ever resurface, it's going to mean the end of the world. Then we come to issue 3, where Bob, as Sentry, confronts the Hulk, and we find out that the Hulk considers Sentry, or as he calls him, Golden Man, a really true friend. The art in this is just spectacular, in my opinion. Reed and the rest of the Fantastic Four finish watching the video, but it cuts out partway through and the videotape is destroyed. Sentry and Hulk have kind of a heart-to-heart here. Hulk says that he will protect Sentry. And then we get this kind of flashback war sequence. Reed goes into a vault and discovers some more information on why he is forgetting the memories of this man, that he doesn't realize that they were friends. Sentry then goes to talk to Peter Parker. So it's clear that he's talking to Reed Richards, he's talking to the Hulk, Bruce Banner. Now he's talking to Peter Parker. He played a part in all their lives. They just don't fucking remember who this guy is. Peter Parker thinks this dude is crazy, but he can fly, so he's clearly a hero, maybe a villain. We get this one panel here done in the old school Steve Ditko style of art, which is so freaking amazing. Reading this is the first time I've ever read this book. I know the character, I know the backstory, I knew the entire story going into this because I used to read Wizard magazine religiously. But seeing these panels, seeing this art, reading the dialogue, reading the narrative boxes was just an absolute joy. I cannot tell you how much of a joy it was reading this book. Spider-Man thinks he's crazy, but he tells Spider-Man, hey, go and look at these back issues and tell me why some of them are missing. Because something's happened to erase the Sentry from everyone's memories. So no one remembers who this guy is. Reed finds this vault with all of these articles and whatnot, and then he is visited by, of course, Doctor Strange. Now, Doctor Strange did a similar thing in the Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man film, where he cast a spell and erased everybody's memories of who Peter Parker was. So that was not a new concept. That had already happened in the comic books. We're not talking about Spider-Man Brand New Day, which was, don't even get me started. But it's happened before. So Doctor Strange confronts Reed and says, listen, some shit's about to go down. We get a little bit of backstory on what Reed asked Doctor Strange to do. Now we come into the X-Men with Archangel and Sentry's relationship to the X-Men, which is pretty cool. This is old school X-Men. This is before Archangel got attacked by Apocalypse in the Morlock tunnels and had his wings severed, and then he became Archangel, pardon me. and had the metal wings, but then the metal came off of the wings, and then he got healing properties. And then, you know what? If you're not a comic book nerd, that's all the power to you. But I am, and I love this shit. So we get Sentry's relationship to all of these superhero teams, the Avengers and the X-Men and all that kind of stuff. He meets with Tony Stark, and they have a bit of a confrontation. And ultimately, the heroes confront Sentry because they know his secret. And Sentry agrees to go along with their plan because the secret of the Sentry could effectively destroy the freaking planet. Now, you probably got all of this from watching the Thunderbolts movie, but the comic book version is so much better. That is not to say Thunderbolts was a bad film. It wasn't. I fucking loved it. But I'm just saying. So we've got Captain America, Thor here, Goliath, Doctor Strange, Reed Richards. And Sentry ultimately agrees to go along with their plan. And here we have his, they call it the Watchtower, which, you know, Watchtower is, of course, the Justice League of America's floating space station. But this has kind of been written to be Stan Lee's lost comic book. So, you know, they're kind of saying we had it first, but they didn't. But it's kind of a cool little nod. So Sentry goes to Watchtower. He's got his computer, very much like Jarvis, and he gives it instructions as all of the heroes kind of come together to stop whatever is going to happen. Sentry goes back to find his wife and let her know kind of what is happening, but she is taken by the ultimate villain, the Void, and Sentry basically rescues her and goes through with the ultimate plan. At this point, we find out that the Void is back. Sentry, like this is in modern times, Sentry has gathered all these heroes together because the Void is coming back and he needs their help to stop it. They can't remember what the fuck is going on. They can't remember who the fuck the Void is. They can barely remember Sentry, but he's trying to make them kind of all remember. So we have Thor, we have Spidey, Captain America. Wait, that's not Captain America. The Hulk. You know, we have all the heroes banded together because the Void is coming. It's this ultimate darkness that is coming across the sea, and it's going to hit the city, and people are going to be killed. Now we jump to the Sentry with various heroes and hero teams. So we get the Sentry with the Fantastic Four, and this is an adventure they had together where they go on this kind of cosmic journey. You get all of the Fantastic Four kind of helping out here, and Reed Richards at the end of it, basically lamenting what is happening. This is a fantastic kind of old school adventure, and you have Reed and Bob with Bob's wife Linda kind of just celebrating at the end of the adventure, and then we have Reed at the end there. Now we have the Sentry and Spider-Man, and this is about the time Spider-Man managed to get a picture of the Sentry. He was fighting Dr. Octopus, and he let Dr. Octopus get away, and Sentry kind of chastised him because Sentry had been chasing Doc Ock. And they ultimately become friends, save the day. We find out the Kingpin has been taken over by the Void, which makes it personal for Sentry. Kingpin, of course, being a major Daredevil villain, but also a Spider-Man villain in some respects. And Spidey is allowed to get a picture of the Sentry, which he sells to J. Jonah Jameson and gets a kind of a ton of money for. Then we have Sentry and the Hulk, which is basically Sentry teaming up with the Hulk, calming him down, and the Hulk becomes friends with him. It's a really touching story, actually, with some fantastic art. I mean, look at these pages. These are just gorgeous pages of comic art. Sentry and the X-Men. This is an Archangel story, actually, where Archangel reminisces about the time that he was chewed out by Professor X because he fucked up in the Danger Room. And Professor X sends him to the Sentry to learn a life lesson, which is you cannot let fear control you. You're a superhero. Your fear is nothing compared to saving lives. And as they're talking, we find out that this villain called the General has taken over a nuclear missile silo. And you can see this fake comic book page here is just... I don't know what to say. It just blows my mind when they do shit like this. I love it. Absolutely love it. So the General has taken control of a nuclear missile silo. The Sentry and the X-Men team up. The General lets loose a nuclear missile. Sentry says to Archangel, "You've got to be my backup on this." And Archangel's like, "Fine." But Archangel immediately gets captured after he flies up. He gets kind of caught in these bands. The Sentry trying to stop this nuclear missile. The missile explodes, so they all think Sentry is dead. Archangel is trapped. His wings won't work because of this carbon fiber stuff. And he realizes what Sentry was talking about. Get over your fear. If you die doing the job, you die doing the fucking job. Like, this is what you're meant to do. You're a superhero. So he sees the General down below, and even though he can't fly, he jumps off of the roof of this control room, 40 feet down, and takes out the General, breaking a few ribs in the process, but nothing too major. And he's reminiscing about all of this as the Void is coming closer. So this is when all the heroes are gathered, the Void is coming, and he's reminiscing about it. This was really fucking good. Archangel has never been one of my favorite X-Men characters. He's a fantastic character, don't get me wrong. What happened to him with the Apocalypse transformation was phenomenal. You got to actually see it in the X-Men animated series, but not to the extent that it happened in the comic books. It was messed up when they cut off his wings and his wings grew back. And then they did this thing where his blood healed people or some stuff. I'm like, oh, come on. This is like when you made Iceman homosexual just for the sake of Iceman being homosexual. Doesn't affect the stories. It's just there, and you didn't need it. I mean, it's good. The character arc and whatnot is good, and I like what they did with Iceman ultimately. I think the story arc where he was destroyed and his partner kind of found bits of him and put him back. That was freaking cool. But I'm just saying, the healing blood thing, that was weird. That was just too weird for me. And then we have Sentry versus the Void, where the Void comes along and we find out that everyone is fighting the Void in their own way. Hulk is the most affected, so Sentry gives him some of his power. Spider-Man realizes he's fighting next to Dr. Octopus. Doc Ock says the criminal underworld knows shit's going down. And we all have a stake in this. And Spidey says, what happens when we win? And Doc Ock says, then I'll kill you. A hero gets killed. Samson tries to free him but doesn't. Then we get Thor doing his thing. And Doctor Strange goes to Reed Richards because Reed Richards was the Sentry's best friend. Creates a time loop. And Reed remembers that, oh shit, Sentry is the Void. They are one and the same. And Reed created a transmitter that meant Sentry forgot who he was, which meant the Void no longer existed. And they have to restart that transmitter. He goes to Sentry and he says, this is what we have to do. And Sentry's like, you do what you've got to do. And so they do it, and Bob loses all memory of himself. The Void doesn't want it done. The Void wants to remain, but it ain't happening. Sentry loses all recollection of himself. The Void no longer exists. Reed loses his best friend again. And then we discover how much damage the Void actually did to the city where millions of people have been killed. And we get Bob and his wife on a road trip. They go to order some burgers, and Bob has a memory, but then just ends up ordering the burger. And that is the end of the story. Plus some fantastic kind of extra stuff at the end, which kind of tells about how it was a big lie and all that kind of stuff. The Sentry. Oh my lord. This was so worth the read. I have wanted to read this comic for the longest time. Never did. So glad I did now. Absolutely loved it. The thing is, with this character of Bob Roberts, of the Sentry, we get it in the Thunderbolts movie, and he's really cool. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love that he is now in the MCU, and I love what they did with the character. But this comic is so heartfelt and heartbreaking. You have a superhero who literally has the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. That's how powerful the Sentry is. He is his own worst enemy. And because of that, he has to choose to give up his power, the ability to help people, the ability to save lives, the heroic nature that he has fostered. They say in the book he was the first hero. All the other superheroes looked up to this guy, and he had to give it all up. And they gave him the choice. It wasn't like Identity Crisis with Batman being mind wiped. He made the choice. The same choice Peter Parker makes in the last Spider-Man movie. What was it? Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home. The same choice Peter Parker makes. No matter how many times you read it, or how many times you see it, it is still fucking hard. It's hard. Because the Sentry is, and of himself, the best hero. He's like the Superman of the Marvel Universe. But because of the void, because of that darkness, he has to give it up. But they give him the choice. Absolutely freaking brilliant. I love this character so much. This was an amazing read, and I highly recommend it to everyone. It was just a fantastic book. Even if you don't know the MCU, I mean, you clearly know Spider-Man, you know the Fantastic Four, you know the Hulk, you know these characters. Pick this up, read it for yourself, because I didn't, again, I say this every video, I didn't do it justice. I skipped over a lot of the nuances of Bob. Most of the book is told through his point of view, and I just kind of swept by it to give you all the story. But you really should look at this. I was actually reading this. I was finishing this on the train on my way home from work today, and the person sitting next to me kept looking over and was kind of reading over my shoulder, which I thought was freaking hilarious, because a lot of times on the trains over here in South Korea, people just keep to themselves. But this person was intimately interested in what comic I was reading and where I was up to. So I thought that was kind of funny. So I'm going to leave it there for the first video of 2026. Now, I will say this, 2026 is going to be a great year for all of us. I will be reviewing a lot of graphic novels, and I will be reading a lot of things that I want to read. However, I will also be reading books that are suggested by you little Plaguelandians. I've already got a small list of suggested reading materials, but if you want me to read something and you want to get my opinion on it, please leave a comment down below in this video, and I will put it on the list and make sure that it gets read this year. So with that said, like, subscribe, leave a comment, but most important of all, stay safe. I'm going to say stay warm, only because it's winter over here in South Korea, and it is fucking freezing. I walked to the train station in minus 11 degrees this morning. My Plaguelandian friends in Australia, stay cool. But of course, do yourself a favor this year. Do me a favor this year. Read a fucking book, people.